The dominoes are falling, one by one, and by the end of episode 6 of Alien Earth, it's not just the human survivors who are running out of moves, it's the entire planet that feels like it's been pushed one step closer to extinction. Let me just say it right now, this might be the most terrifying episode yet. And that's not because of blood or gore or jump scares. No, it's because of the silence. The way conversations stop. The way characters look at each other and realize that every decision from here on out might be their last. But here's the question that's been haunting me ever since the credits rolled. Did we just witness the episode where the Xenomorphs stopped being a threat and started becoming inevitable? Because make no mistake, what episode 6 does is shift the game. The creatures aren't just lurking in the shadows anymore. They're adapting, they're spreading, and for the first time in this series, I felt like humanity was already playing catch up to a nightmare that has no intention of slowing down. And I don't know if you caught it, but the writers left us some terrifying breadcrumbs, subtle clues, hidden details, throwaway lines that suggest the takeover isn't just probable, it's guaranteed. So let's break it down together, because trust me, you're going to want to see what you might have missed. But before we go full conspiracy mode, let's talk about the opening act. Episode 6 wastes no time throwing us back into chaos. The survivors are still fractured, the military is scrambling for control, and the government spin machine is working overtime to convince the public that everything is contained. Yeah, sure, contained. Tell that to the people in the quarantine zones who aren't getting out alive. This is what Alien Earth has been building towards since episode 1 teased the tension between truth and control, and episode 6 ramps that tension up to a breaking point. Here's the problem. And it's one that's bigger than any single facehugger or chestburster. Humanity isn't just fighting the Xenomorphs anymore. We're fighting ourselves. Panic, cover-ups, distrust between civilians and the military. Every time we turn on each other, the aliens get stronger. And in episode 6, that mistrust becomes a weapon just as sharp as any Xenomorph claw. Take that mid-episode council sequence. On the surface, it's just political theater leaders debating how much information to release, what protocols to follow, who gets evacuated and who doesn't. But if you listen closely, if you watch the way the camera lingers, it's clear the collapse isn't coming. The collapse is already here, and the writers know it, because episode 6 is filled with foreshadowing, with moments that practically scream the end isn't near, the end is here. Think about the way characters are framed, shadows swallowing half their faces, claustrophobic angles making us feel like we're suffocating, dialogue that cuts off mid-sentence, as if even words are being hunted down. It's not just horror, it's inevitability. But here's what really blew my mind. There are moments, tiny flashes, where you realize that the Xenomorphs aren't even the villains anymore. Their nature, their evolution, their inevitability given form. The real villains, the people in charge, the systems that refuse to adapt, the lies we tell ourselves just to feel safe. And that brings me to the forbidden question episode 6 is daring us to ask, what if humanity doesn't deserve to win?
I know, that sounds dramatic.
But think about it, every mistake, every cover-up, every denial, it's like humanity is practically inviting the Xenomorph to take over. And maybe, just maybe, that's what the show wants us to confront. Because survival isn't guaranteed. Not here, not now. And this is where I'm going to stop and look right at you if you're watching this breakdown and you want me to keep going deeper. Into the secrets, the foreshadowing, the theories the writers don't want you to piece together. You need to hit that subscribe button right now. Because trust me, the next few episodes aren't just going to test these characters, they're going to test us. So here's the loop. The hook, the question will carry forward. Did episode 6 just confirm that the Xenomorphs aren't the monsters, but the future? And if that's true, then episode 6 wasn't just another chapter. It was the tipping point. The dominoes aren't just falling anymore. They're crashing down. Here's where things get dangerous. Because the deeper you look into episode 6, the more you realize this wasn't just another alien attack story. This episode was a blueprint, a roadmap for how the Xenomorphs go from being contained outbreaks to planetary domination. And it all starts with one-word adaptation. For decades, in every movie, in every comic, the Xenomorphs have always been presented as perfect organisms, hunters, survivors. But in episode 6, we see something new, something subtle. These Xenomorphs aren't just hunting, they're learning. And that changes everything. Think about that chilling moment when the survivors notice the aliens aren't charging blindly anymore. They're flanking, coordinating using tactics. That's not instinct. That's memory. That's strategy. Which means every encounter, every battle, every failed attempt to stop them is making them stronger. And if that's true, humanity isn't just losing ground. We're handing the aliens the instruction manual on how to wipe us out. Now here's the forbidden knowledge the writers don't want to say out loud, but it's all there in the subtext the government knows. The military knows. And instead of sounding the alarm, instead of uniting humanity against the threat, they're doing the exact opposite. They're downplaying it, they're suppressing it, they're trying to manage the narrative. Why? Because if the public knew what episode 6 shows us, if people understood that the aliens aren't just a threat but an inevitability, panic wouldn't just spread. Civilization itself would collapse. And here's the cruel irony. In trying to protect humanity, the leaders of alien Earth might be accelerating its destruction. Let me throw a hypothetical your way, because this is what episode 6 made me think about. Imagine if, right now, you found out the government was lying about how much of the planet is already compromised. Imagine if the numbers they gave us, casualties, infestations, containment zones, were off by, say, 50%. Would you want to know? Or would ignorance really be bliss? That's the genius of episode 6. It doesn't just show us the fight for survival, it puts us in it. It makes us ask questions we don't want the answers to. And here's the kicker. Remember that brief, almost throwaway line from the scientist character, muttering about how it's not just infection, it's integration. That wasn't a mistake. That was a warning. Because the real secret of episode 6 isn't just that the Xenomorphs are spreading, it's that they're evolving with us. And if that's true, then the story of Alien Earth isn't humanity versus the Xenomorphs. It's humanity becoming the Xenomorphs. Think about it. Every hybrid rumor we've seen teased, every experiment we've seen hinted at in past episodes, every shadowy lab sequence where the military keeps saying, "We're studying them." Episode 6 all but confirms what they're studying isn't just defense, it's assimilation. And let's be honest here, when has humanity ever resisted the temptation to weaponize the unweaponizable? If you think the people in charge aren't already considering ways to merge human and alien DNA to make super soldiers, you haven't been paying attention. This is the dirty little secret of Alien Earth. The show isn't just about the terror of being hunted, it's about the even darker terror of what happens when humans decide to become the very thing they fear. Now, let me throw this back to you, because I want to hear your thoughts. If you were in charge, if you had the chance to harness Xenomorph power, knowing full well it could destroy humanity, would you take it? Or would you burn every lab, every experiment, and hope to wipe the slate clean? Drop your answer in the comments, because I think episode 6 is forcing us to wrestle with a question that has no good answer. And that's what makes it brilliant. But there's another layer here, and it's one that only the most obsessive fans probably caught. Episode 6 is littered with callbacks, references to Alien Covenant, to aliens, even to cut concepts from the unmade Alien 5. You know that moment when the alien pauses, tilts its head, and studies its prey before striking? That's straight from a Ridley Scott storyboard. And the way the episode teases the military's Project Prometheus. Yeah, that's no coincidence. The writers are building a bridge between decades of alien lore. They're telling us, everything you thought was abandoned wasn't abandoned. It was leading here. So now I have to ask, what does that mean for where this series is going? Are we heading toward full-on war, or are we heading toward something worse? A merger of species where there is no us and them anymore. Because after episode 6, it feels less like humanity versus the aliens and more like humanity preparing to join them. And that, my friends, is the most terrifying twist of all. But we're not done. Not even close. Because if episode 6 was the tipping point, then the next episode could be the explosion. And I've got some wild theories, backed up by hidden details and visual clues, that might reveal exactly how the dominoes are going to crash in episode 7. Stay with me. Because once you hear this, you'll never look at the series the same way again.